Hello everyone, Ed from Canva here, welcoming you back to another Canva tutorial. In this one, I'll be showing you two very distinct and stylized ways of visually dividing your information in designs like presentations, portfolios, and even social media posts. There's some really clever element work in this tutorial that you'll definitely want to see, so I'll top it to Canva and get started. So we're in Canva and here are the two examples we'll be working on. The first one is a folder divider style design, which again may be terrific for things like presentations, portfolios, and even social media posts because of how you can tab or group content together. This is how it looks from page to page. And as you can see, these folder tabs on the right here allow you to effectively group or tab different pieces of content from page to page. Our second example is a bit of a wild card. It's a scene that we've built on a tabletop that has a degree of realism incorporated here. There's some clever usage of elements here, and this kind of design might be good for presentations yet again, but also for unexpected things like surveys, briefs, worksheets, reports, or even as a stylish take on note-taking. Let's start by running through the folder divider example. So we're going to go to the bottom of our design where I've created a blank page for us to start working, and this is the page that we're going to start working on. First things first, we're going to start by turning on rulers and guides and defining the areas we'd like our dividers to be placed across. I'm going to do that by heading to File, turning on rulers, and then turning on guides. And from here we can see the measurements of our design. So it's 6 inches width and then 4 inches height. And you can decide to leave the background white or change it to black depending on whether you envision a light or dark mode kind of viewing environment. We're going to go with 4 tabs for this example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by dividing the design into quarters by placing guidelines evenly apart across maybe every inch of this design. So every inch I'll put a divider running across. I'm going to do that by pulling from the width ruler and then placing that just like that as close to 3 as I can. That's looking good. Same thing with 2. And then over here, same thing with 1. I'm just going to quickly adjust this to be exactly at 3. There we go. We're now going to add an area for our dividers to be placed. So we're going to drag from the height ruler and we're going to pull that to the right here and we're going to define this as our area for where the tabs will live. So each folder or divider tab will live on the side over here. Perfect. For a portrait-oriented design, you can place these dividers horizontally across the top over here. But for this landscape-oriented design, we're going to place them on the side here as it affords us more room. From here, we're now going to add a square element into our design and resize it according to this left portion of our design. So I'm going to do that by heading to Elements, choosing a square, and then just fitting that to this area that we've defined over here. I'm going to do that by just lining it up there and then turning this almost into a rectangle. I might change this first color to something pastel. Yep, that's looking good. And now we're going to add some squares with some curved corners in and we're going to resize them into rectangles. I'll show you what I mean in a second. So let me just quickly find, yep, this is the element I was after. And what we're going to do is we're going to fit one of these just like that, remove that backwards. And I'm going to make that color the same as this region over here. And I'm just going to copy this a few times, making sure that they all link up. I'm going to change the colors as I go. So I think this one will be purple, for instance. And again, I'll push that backwards. And then I'll duplicate this again, place that one there. I'll change the color of this to perhaps a neutral kind of blue. Push that backwards. Again, I'm just looking for placeholder colors here. I'm not too fussed about which colors we use. And then for this last one, again, position backwards. And I'm going to change the color of this to perhaps this yellow over here. Terrific. So what we've done here is we've added distinct colors to each folder tab to be able to better identify each topic or contents per tab. We can now duplicate this main page and change the colors to have different open tabs or folders. And I'll show you what I mean. So we're going to duplicate this. And I'm going to change the color of this now to the color of this folder tab. And as you can see, it looks seamless now, as if this folder tab is open. I'm going to duplicate this again. And what we can do here is we can change that to this color. And what I might do for this portion in particular is just remove our guides now. We don't need them anymore. And one more duplication. And this time I'm making it yellow for our last tab. And this is looking excellent. Next, we're going to add some lines across our tabs here to better divide the open tabs from closed tabs. It's quite a simple process, and what we can do is head to Elements, type in line, and just get a basic line. Just make sure that's 90 degrees and straight. And we're going to quickly just head to Weight and make this line a little bit thinner. It does look quite thick at the moment, so let's go for a 2 perhaps. And let's change the style to be square tipped, not circular or rounded tipped. I think this will suit this kind of design a little bit more. And we're going to just extend this to the bottom, and I'm liking how that's sitting at the moment. And I'm just going to change this to the color of our background. And what this does now is it also gives this open folder a little bit of depth. It looks like a little bit of a shadow or the corner or the edge of the paper or the folder. So I quite like that. And we're going to do this now for the remaining slides that we have, or the other pages that we have. So I'm going to copy that into here. And what I might do first actually is I'll do this top one. And I'm going to have the last page partially open so that I can line these up pretty similarly. So it looks like, yep, that's correct. And now I'm going to copy this and, yep, look for the line markers. That looks correct. Actually, that could be one more unit over. Yep, that's looking correct. And I'm going to line that up to the bottom there. And this one's looking good too. So I'm going to do that once more. I'm just going to copy this into this page of our design, and I'm just going to line that up. And I do believe that was, yep, that's looking right. And then over here, I'm going to make sure that these are properly in line as well. And that's looking good. We have one more page to go, and this one's a lot simpler than the others. And our folder divider is complete. Here is the final result. From here, you can add text, elements, photos, and other kinds of content in, and even have a name per tab as a heading or on the tab itself on the right side. Next, we're going to work in our realistic tabletop scene. This one's all about world building and creating immersion with elements. I'd start by finding a tabletop for us to work with as our background. I'm going to head to photos and search for tabletop. So I believe this one over here is the one that we used in our example. So I'm just going to quickly resize that to our screen just by pulling the edges. It's quite a simple process. Next, I'm going to add our realistic coffee and pen graphics in to denote that our scene is centered around some morning coffee or afternoon note-taking. So what I'm going to do is head to photos again. I'm going to search here for coffee. And I'm going to look for one that's positioned quite flat from above so that it does indeed look like a flat lay and suits his tabletop. I'm going to search through a little while, see what stands out to me. And I've found the coffee cup I would like to use. Thankfully, it's got a shadow around the edge, which is great for us. It means I don't have to add a shadow myself. And I'm just going to quickly resize that and place that in the corner. I don't want it to obstruct any of the main content that we'll put into this design later on. And I'm going to head to photos again and type in pen, looking for that pen element that we'd like. And lucky for us, it's the first one. Just going to quickly resize that and again, pull that off to the side, just like so. From here, I know I have space to add our pages and or the majority of our content. For my particular example, I'm going to use lined paper and images with Polaroid frames, but you can use post-it notes, unlined paper, or even your own scanned documents. You can upload them into Canva and paste them straight in. I'm going to start by searching for paper in photos and scrolling down just to find the particular paper I used in my examples above. I think it may have been a little further down here. Yep, correct. And I'm going to start by just positioning this very roughly, like I did with the others. And I'm thinking this one could actually be straight, and then the papers that I put above it can be on an angle. I'm going to add a quick shadow to this by heading to Effects, and then heading down over here to Shadows, connecting that to my Canva account. And from here we have a variety of options. So I might go for angle here, and I'm liking that. I might go for a less intense shadow because there isn't that much depth. The paper isn't that far off the surface. So I'm going to turn the transparency down just so it's a little bit more subtle, and I'm going to apply that. So that was 3, 30, and 5. Awesome to know. So once we've added our shadow to our design, we're going to leave it here for now while we add 2 example images in and create frames out of them. We're going to do that by heading to Photos and quite simply choosing 2 example images. I might just go with these 2 for now. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the image, like this is already selected, head to Effects, and now we're going to add frames to our image. We can do that by clicking frames, connecting it, And now the tab should appear here. We're going to click See All, and we're going to choose this white Polaroid frame for this image. We're going to quickly just resize this image and place it over here. And we're going to do the same for this second image. Again, See All, and then Polaroid white. You can choose black, you can choose a bunch of different frames, but for this particular example, for this particular design, I think the Polaroids will be a nice touch. And I am just going to leave these over here. So once our images are complete with the frames and whatnot, we're just going to quickly position these in a way and maybe even move our pen out of the way so it isn't obstructing these images too much. And I'm just going to resize this a little bit to make it a bit larger, move that over here, and then resize our images. So just overall working on the positioning and sizing of all of our elements and assets in here right now. So I'm happy with that so far. Cool. Our pen can even move a little bit higher. Alright, so what we might do from here is we might add some shadows to these picture frames as well over here just to ground them in this world that we've created. So I'm going to quickly go to Effects again, Shadows, Angle, and there we go. I'm going to quickly change this to 30 as we did with our line paper, and I'm going to do it for the image on the top layer now again, just by heading to Effects, Angle, and quite simply again changing this to 30 to reduce the intensity of the shadows. I want this design to be 3 pages long, so what I'm going to do now is duplicate our line paper thrice and cascade them over each other on a slight angle. I'm going to quickly move this to the side, place it on a slight angle, and now I'm just going to quickly duplicate it and move that on a straighter angle, and then once more on that kind of an angle. And I'm going to quickly move these off to the side a little bit. Taking some time now to just fine tune the positioning a little bit. I think that's enough to be able to see that there is 3 pages indeed sitting there. This is looking good so far. So one last touch before we start building out each slide. The line paper looks a bit odd in isolation, so I'm going to add a paperclip graphic close by to denote that these were clipped together. So I'm going to go to Photos, which is already opened, and over here I'm going to type in paperclip. And I think this would be a nice touch to just have in the corner, just so it looks like these papers were once clipped and we've unclipped them now to read through them. And I'll put these on a slight messy angle as well, just over here. And quite nicely, this paperclip has a small shadow along the edge there, which is great. Grounds this in the real world that we've created here. So now I'm going to duplicate this slide and move one of our pages to the side, like so. So duplicate, and I'm going to move this top page to the side over here. I'm also going to add one of our images in. So I'm going to place that in that particular spot there and then move it a bit forward. Just so whatever text is on the right over here on our page can kind of speak to this image over here. You can have more than 2 images. I've just placed them here for example. And then we can sort of delete this one over here. We can go duplicate again. And from here, we can again delete this, move this second page to the side like so. And I can just copy this from our prior slide and place it over here. And whatever text we have in this line paper can speak to that image as well. So as a nice finishing touch, what I might do is I might actually move this pen and place it over our page, rotate it ever so slightly and have it towards the bottom of our page to signal that this was the final paper in this series of papers. Okay, so here is the tabletop scene in all of its 3-page glory. And we're all finished. These visual dividers are a great way to split information up from page to page in an engaging and refreshingly visual way. The same lessons we learn here about element positioning, realism and hierarchy can be applied to many other kinds of designs. Did you like this tutorial? Do you have some of your own methods? If so, please let us know by dropping a like on this video. If you found any of the lessons here useful, we'd also love to hear it in the comments below. I'll catch you in the next tutorial. Ed out.